but maybe I recognize some of the names in here already. So maybe there's going to be questions about things that have already come up on Slack. Well, welcome everyone. I guess as the official unofficial instructor of the course, it's probably incumbent on me to lead this until at least, just in case Paul Rosen doesn't show up. I'm Gareth Funning. I'm one of the instructors. I will be leading various of the sessions later on. I've been trying to fix the GDAL notebooks for the last 2 days. So hopefully that happened satisfactorily for most people. And if it hasn't, then I can probably talk you through what to do to fix it. This is office hours, so we're here to answer questions, Becca and I, and maybe others will show up. What questions do you have about what's covered in the pre-course materials thus far? Feel free to unmute yourselves and weigh in.
I've got a totally basic question. Where are we supposed to self-report our comfort level? I've been like editing, like dumping my PDF of my screenshots and then just like pasting a number at the top, or is there somewhere I'm supposed to put that, or is that okay?
Becca, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for the homeworks that I've been grading, if it's just anywhere, then that's fine with me. If it's either like text, as long as there's text of it somewhere, then that's fine. It can be very basic or just put wherever.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, maybe I'll bite and jump in with the question.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the SARA, Seamless SAR archive. What's the acronym? Do you call it SARA? SARA, yes. Okay, so I'm trying to go through that first notebook and just do some tests. And I think I understand the syntax. You go from printing it out to downloading it. And I think what I want to do is make a KML. And then from Jupyter Hub, download the KML to my local, open up in Google Earth and see a pretty picture. I'm trying to do that, and I'm ending up with a KML that doesn't have anything in it other than some like color definition files in the JSON. I don't know if it makes sense, like copy and paste my syntax in the chat or share my screen.
Share your screen, I think.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm getting the same thing. I think Alex, we chatted.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an empty file. It's got some indicators that it's working, but it's not writing the actual KML.
Yeah. Yes. Same. Okay, so this is the notebook. I've got the stuff commented out because I already downloaded all the Baja stuff, and it seems to be working great. For my test case, I just picked a location that happens to be in Lake Elsinore, and I wanted to print out some different information to, know what to put into the next query to create a KML. So there's a lot of things here. And I said, well, let me just go ahead and put in the information from this last option here. I've tried it a few different ones. I tried it with the default NVSAT example at the top too. But what I have here is the query, ALOS, however, as the platform, let's see, 215. I don't know if I need both 673s in here or not for the frames. I think I've got the date right. Start and end, and I've played around with different things just to envelope it. So if syntax looks great, I run it and it seems like it's running fine. Sorry, I thought this was faster.
Searching everything, I guess.
Oh, well, this one found 0 scenes. Well, that's not a good example.
That would be partly why.
Yeah. I've got one up here. You know what? Let me. All right, let's just use this one here. This will be a better example. that seems like it should work. And I don't know, Emily, I think you've done the same thing. If you are a little more prepared than I am, then I can totally pass my screen over to you.
Yeah, I don't have that notebook open, but I can certainly open up the KML and kind of it's succeeding, as far as succeeding in finding scenes. It's just not writing anything into the KML. So it shows each in the KML, it has a line that says, here's the scene, but then when it writes the actual point information, or I guess it's not actually writing the point information. It just says, here's a scene, and here's where we would write the footprint if it were there, but there's nothing in that parenthesis.
Yeah, let me open it up in editor here. So I think this is what you see too, Emily, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Great. So the story with TSAR is that it was maintained by a UNAVCO staff member for years and years called Scott Baker. And he left acrimoniously or suddenly or abruptly. I'm not sure quite what the story was, but he left. And the staff have been trying to pick it up and use and sort of revive it, but I'm not sure at what level that has happened. It's clearly not working. So we might have to go and nudge the various people at UNAVCO to try and get it fixed, unfortunately.
No problem.
Do you have any insight about what we could do about this? You're muted.
I can ask around. Let me ping a few folks at ASF and Mattermost real quick and see if they know any latest and greatest on TSAR. Hang on a sec.
Yes, I think the web service actually has a KML output, and there's, if you go to the search page, you can pick the drop-down option as KML. So I think it's just using that on the back end, just by looking at the script that was in there. I tried to log in and just download my own, but I don't have a password. Right? There's like an option here to do this. If I search, it asks for a login. So if someone has access to this and is able to do this, then that's wrong. But if you hit the same problem, then I think the problem's on that side maybe.
Yeah, I will. I do have access to that. I haven't used it in a long time. I will have a go.
Cool. Yeah, I'll go ahead and paste it in the chat. I'm sure you probably have it in your favorites, but okay. Well, that was my question, and it sounds like it's not fixed. So I'll stop talking and let someone else go. Thank you.
No, thank you for bringing this up. This is a really good point. So I'm following up right now with ASF to see if there's still anybody, if we are still involved in this process, if somebody is maintaining it at ASF or if that's on UNAVCO. So hopefully I have an answer before the end of this telecon.
I know that Ronnie used to have a fork of it in his GitHub repo. Ronnie, yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's like when I searched GitHub for it, that was the only place I found it, and it's because it's on the UNAVCO GitLab or whatever they call it. It's where it is supposed to be.
And nobody's in contact with Scott, right? So nobody. No.
Along these same lines, trying to run on my personal computer, I have, being a government employee, a lot of secure SSL certificate errors. And so if anybody familiar enough with Python, I guess I don't know whether I need to go in and modify the script itself or whether there's a way to set like a global variable. I don't think everybody else needs to listen to all that because it's just my problem. But if anybody has any thoughts on that, I would appreciate some ideas on how to, I have the certificate file. I just need to know if there's a way to point to it globally rather than have to modify every single Python script I want to run.
Oh, so you're running it on your local machine.
Yeah.
You're running into some issues. Okay.
Yeah, and I asked this early because it's been a problem with ICE in the past that the SSL blocks pretty much everything that has to like fetch the water masks and all this kind of stuff. And so if anybody has any thoughts on how to deal with the SSL certificate, in general, all of us at the USGS would be very grateful.
Yeah, so in terms of this course, the best, I guess, person to reach out to that's on Slack is Alex Landowski. He's probably responded to some of the requests already. You can, if you want to make sure that he absolutely sees it, you can, I guess, direct message him.
Okay.
Because there's in many of the channels, there are lots of messages. He may miss it, but if you direct message him, you should be able to see it.
Okay, thanks.
Could I ask a question about the last assignment for the pre-course work?
Sure.
It's the TSAR Theory assignment, like where we watch the video and we work through the notebook, and in the notebook there's like the one multiple choice question, which I did get to work. I don't know why it like stopped working for some time. I'm just a little bit confused on what evidence you want us to submit. Can I just have some clarification on the assignment?
So let's, can you bring up the notebook?
Yes, I can do that right now. I can. Do you want me to share my screen?
Sure, if you can, that'd be useful.
So this is the one.
Ah, there we go.
Nope,
see it now?
Is my screen? Yeah, okay, I think it is. Give me a second, it's just loading.
The submarine space.
So that's 0.9.
I think this is 0.8.
0.8, okay.
Yes. Yeah, I was like convinced for a while that like nothing was running, but obviously it was running. That's why we have that extra cell at the top. I haven't gone, well, I probably have to like rerun through everything. But at the evidence is saying that like we need to submit images. Let me bring, yeah, it's that y'all want a plot of the old and new image with altered results. But I'm just like confused on like what images, like are we taking SAR images that we previously have worked with in the pre-course material?
Yeah, this may have been a wish as opposed to something we wanted to get to, but we never got to in terms of putting in exercises. Can you scroll down to the end?
Yes.
Yeah, people, the students this year are very careful to check what we're asking of them, which is nice.
Okay,
yeah,
so like
I think the idea here was to put in, for me, who created this cell, was to put in a exercise where you would have an image and you would filter it in one way or another and come up with something that looks similar to what you see here at this last cell. And
okay,
I must not have ever gotten quite gotten around to that. So,
okay,
yeah.
Is it something we should like hold off on doing?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in this notebook that would give you any tools to do any of that kind of thing. So let me think about this between today and tomorrow. Maybe I can come up with an exercise that would be useful for you, but I think for now, just hold off.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
there's a multiple choice in there already, and there are
yes.
there are things that are, if you run through the notebook, there are certain graphics that appear that are not there if you didn't run through the notebook. So in the easiest case, Paul, it could be just print the notebook.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. That's evidence that you did the work of looking through the notebook. That's true. But yeah, so either I can change the evidence statement in the syllabus, or I can think of maybe some exercise to put at the end, which shouldn't be too hard. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. That's another feature of the notebook. Okay. And I can try to fix that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess related to that, I hopped up to I guess it was notebook 9, I think, to try to, I was like, oh, maybe I'm supposed to go through that really intense notebook and alter some of the plots in there. And I think it's 9, right?
0.9, the SAR imaging?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, the SAR processor notebook. And it's a really great notebook, by the way. Thanks for putting that together. I tried to go through and just change like one little thing. I think it was the squint angle. And I hit an error like 3/4 of the way down on some kind of array size. And I mean, the material's a little dense for a beginner, so I'm not quite sure how to back out where the error is, but it hit a wall and crashed. And I think you said in the first meeting, like, hey, try this. If it doesn't work, let me know. I'm curious. So
yeah. So basically, the one parameter in the entire theoretical framework that I never actually tested was the squint. So I don't know.
0 doesn't work.
I don't know if it works or not.
Yeah, I tried 20 and 40 degrees.
Yeah, so that is very likely to break things, because you're talking about, a typical SAR beam width is a few degrees. And if you change the squint to 20 degrees, it means you're taking, if you think of the geometry, you're a million meters in space, and you're changing the pointing angle by, tens of kilometers. So it means that the buffer sizes are going to get very, very large, because now your image is that much longer in the long track dimension. So if I were you, I think a better exercise would be to take the squint angle and change it by, say, 1/2 degree.
Okay.
And then try it by 1 degree. Even 2 degrees is already one full beam width away from where you started. So that's plenty of squint.
That makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. I'll give that a try.
I would love to see if it works. Try that and see if it still fails.
Yeah, 40 degrees is a huge squint. So
yeah, I guess
very unusual for radar.
That makes sense now. I don't know why I did that, but
actually, there are certain radars that are operated with an intentionally very large squint. If you have very specific goals in mind, there are certain radars that are operated to do what's called moving target detection, where you try to find basically objects that behave differently than you would expect in the sort of range Doppler space. When we focus a SAR image, you always assume that the relative motion between the satellite and the ground is driven by two things. It's the satellite motion and it's the Earth rotation. But you kind of make an assumption that everything else on the ground is fixed and doesn't substantially move during the illumination time. And moving targets very much violate this. And so when you try to do imaging, you'll learn all of this, and you learned it hopefully a little bit when you went through that notebook, by the way, which I like a lot. I think it's a fantastic notebook. Is that in order to get high resolution imaging, you try to create a lot of bandwidth. You try to fill basically your spectral space with data as much as you can. In the moving target case, you want the opposite. You want the image itself to take up as little bandwidth as possible, so that you have a lot of bandwidth left and right where you can detect things that are not the image, where you can find things that are not behaving like the regular scene. And so for moving target, the antennas are often squinted actually 90 degrees forward, so that you actually don't create the Doppler space that you usually create in the image as you fly by. And you have lots of bandwidth left and right, where there's no image. There's no image content. And all the content you get there is content from things that are behaving different than the regular environment. And so
can you tell if it's coming from the left or right side if you're like 90 degrees off? Or do you have that problem?
Yeah, you may not, but you might still be able to pinpoint things that are moving. So you operate those with a large squint angle so that you narrow the part of the spectrum that you're scanning with image space and you're filling with image space. And instead you have a lot of free spectrum that makes it easy for you to detect moving objects. So depending on what the application is, but for imaging radars, usually we use squints that are small, partly because we like shortcuts. We like to work with Fourier transforms. As you see in the code, if you run a Fourier transform, that makes it much faster to process a SAR image. But in the Fourier transform, you make some assumptions. You make an assumption that the curvature or sort of the rate at which frequency changes over time can be approximated with a linear line. You make an assumption that it's the hyperbola is really shaped like a parabola. That's a fine assumption if you work with small squints. So near the bottom of the range function, it behaves very closely like a parabola. But as further you go away, the more you violate the true shape of that function. And you can't approximate it anymore with a single slope. And so you make bigger errors. If you still do FFTs, you make errors in the focusing quality. And so we like small squints this way. So 40 degrees is a huge squint for SAR, even though it may not sound huge from just
when you mentioned that it's like, tens of kilometers, hundreds, it's tens of kilometers on the ground. I think that sounds ridiculous now. Cool, thank you.
I'm very happy that you're exercising the notebook. I hope it works for small squints. Give it a try. Give it a shot.
So obviously it starts at 0, like 1 degree increment, or did you say a quarter degree?
Yeah, so I would start with something less than a beam width. You can calculate the beam width from the equations in there. It's basically whatever your wavelength is divided by the length of the antenna and the along track dimension. So I think it's an L-band example, if I'm not mistaken. So 0.24 over 10,
24, yeah.
Like that.
Okay, yep. So I'll try it and let you know.
Good.
I tried the 2 versions of the TSAR GUI, and neither of them returns any KML even when you ask them to. One of them doesn't even have it as an option, actually, the more recent version, the fancier looking one. So I think that functionality may currently be broken. But so
the rest of the TSAR interface is functioning properly as far
as
you
get a whole load of different scenes being listed with their download links from different repositories. All that stuff works. Okay. So it's just the visualization part which is not working.
Is it commonly used these days? It's been a while since you used it. So how do you search for your data?
I'm usually trying to find earthquakes, and so I'm going to the Vertex, or what used to be called Vertex. They changed its name just to search.
So we haven't heard anything about. I just looked. I got a response on Mattermost. We haven't heard anything about TSAR since 2019. So nobody has at least asked us anything about TSAR since March of 2019. Which includes Falk.
Oh, wow.
Falk has been very vocal whenever something breaks in TSAR. So either he moved on from it, or he didn't discover that there was anything wrong with it.
Well, if it's not a community tool that people are using, we should probably just remove it from our training.
It's very helpful for finding things in which things are in the various archives that are publicly available. Like the SuperScience Virtual Archive 4 is like this kind of amazing dumping ground for all sorts of things that you can't find anywhere else easily. Okay. Although now actually ISCE has its own sort of real-time archive that it will process the data on the fly and send it to you in SLC format. So maybe it is less important now than it used to be, but that's only a very recent development.
Okay. So the GDAL notebooks that were not working very well in the first few days should now be working, I believe. There's one trick. If you had been playing with them before, you may still have the old ones. You probably have to delete the entire set of notebooks in that folder and then restart your server to get the newer notebooks. That's something that I found out the hard way.
Yeah, and if you attended the OpenSAR Lab training, that's always a good thing. If something doesn't look right, or if you made a mistake, you screwed up your notebook entirely, and it doesn't run anymore, and you don't know what happened. Easiest thing to get back to where you started from is just delete the notebook, restart your server.
I found the actual timing of when you saying all that and put it in the Slack. The video starts at the point where you say this.
I can try to find out. Have you already? Are you saying you've already done that?
I did that, yeah.
I did have a quick question though, following it. Now that I'm getting farther through it, when you're working with putting the password in the netrc file, does that go in your base home directory, or does that go in the working directory?
Home directory.
Okay.
And some people ran into an issue with not having Griffin enabled, which is like one of the things that we ask you to do is to access a file which is it's a remote file, and do a vizy curl something or other to actually visualize what's in that remote file. And you need access to the remote file through Earth Data. You have to go into your Earth Data account and enable Griffin, which is the Getting Ready for ISAR project, under which they processed a whole load of Sentinel data. It used to be called the Griffin Door, which I really thought was awesome, but they changed the name to something less exciting.
I was at that meeting when we came up with that name, and everybody but me got it. I have not read a single. I have not read any of the books.
You don't have kids.
I don't have kids.
So you log into your Earth Data account, and the instructions for this are also now somewhere in the Slack channel. You go to your account, and then you can see what apps are authorized under your account, and it's like one of the first ones.
Did you have an issue with that? I could show that real quick if it's necessary, but if you figured it out.
People did have an issue with it. I don't know if anybody online is still having that problem.
Hi. Well, if we're recording it, people could always be looking at this remotely. So for.
Hi, I think I have a question that is kind of related, maybe. I actually don't know. I'm really I'm not experienced in this area at all. And I don't know if I can share my screen. I'm pretty sure this is going to be really basic for you.
Yeah, you can share your screen.
So I have been trying to follow these instructions. I think this is like at the very end of the GDAL, the first part of the GDAL notebooks. And I do everything, and everything is working great. But I think here in this part, maybe there's a server that I don't know, like something. I should write something here. I don't know, like NASA something, and I don't know, path, something else. Like, is that true? Like, should I change this to something else, and that everybody knows what to write here? And I'm the only one that don't know.
So that looks like that's a sort of generic placeholder for the name of a server. But the command that we're trying to get you to run, I think, is in the notebook, and it has the right format with the right.
Like here?
Where is it? Yeah. See that vizy curl, HT, all that stuff that's in the quotes. after results equals. That's basically the command that we're trying to run once your netrc file is set up.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
Lester, I think Lester's trying to do the same thing I was just asking about, and he needs to open up a terminal and make the netrc file first. Did you get that? Did you get that one? Okay.
I did run a terminal doing this in a terminal inside the OSL, I think is the name. And
let's see your terminal. Yeah. Can you go to your terminal for us and show us that? Type out your netrc file.
So the error that he's getting is the same one I was getting when the netrc file was in the working directory and not the home directory.
Yeah.
It's also, it's actually a permissions error. So either you don't have access to the file because you don't have an netrc file, or you don't have access to the file because you don't have permissions enabled within Earth data. Both, I think, will give you the same error message.
Yeah.
So, so where are you? Can you type PWD, present working directory? Okay, and do ls-a.
Okay.
And now type more.netrc.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Type more space .netrc, and we'll all see your password.
I'll avert my eyes.
It's okay, no worries. I don't use it.
So I think you're missing new lines or something.
Okay.
It doesn't, I suspect it's not reading that properly.
And how should I fix that?
So how did you edit it in the first? Oh, you just used their, well, maybe this works. I don't know. You use their methodology on the website.
Yes, the one that they wrote here.
It may also be, I see as I'm spying at your password, that you have a special character in your password. Maybe that's an issue.
Oh, the dot, you mean?
Yeah.
It could be that it's
okay. I can work on that. Okay,
well,
but
in general, I've noticed that you don't have nano as a terminal command. So my favorite terminal text editor doesn't work.
What?
But Emacs works. You can type Emacs.
I don't know all the shortcuts for Emacs.
I do. Type Emacs space .netrc and let's see what happens.
It's EMACS.
Yeah, EMACS. Yeah.
So E
as in Edward.
Okay, I'm sorry.
ACX.
Okay.
There is possibly a space missing.
Yeah, so I think you need a new line at the end of the .gov, and then don't you need a tab character in there?
No,
you don't need those.
Don't need tabs, but a return would be good.
Yeah,
have login and password at the start of each line.
Okay, so hit return.
Oh.
Not backspace, return.
Which one is that?
Enter.
Enter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Enter. And there you go. And then go to the password, and just before that, type enter.
Yeah.
There you go. And you can try that and see if that works. And if not, then I suggest that you do it front set and change your password to not have a period in it.
Is it Control X, Control S or something to get out of Emacs?
Yes, Control X, Control S. Should be, that saves it. And now type Control X, Control C.
Okay.
There you go.
DI is much better.
I'm going to try to run this again.
Yeah, go back to your notebook. Let's see what happens.
Okay. I'll do that. I just don't know. I'm going to give myself a minute to do this.
Yeah, and if you need a minute to run this, I can show real quick how you can activate the
sure,
the things you need on your account.
Creating a new account, does it need to be in the same email that we use to register for this class? And things like that, independent.
No,
so long as you remember the username and password, it doesn't really matter what they are. No special characters, I guess.
Okay, so stupid bar on top. Yeah. I stepped a little bit too far forward. So once you log into your Earth data login, you get to an interface like this. It shows you your profile information, blah, 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 all the stuff that you entered. And in that interface, there's a section that says applications.
Yeah.
And so the accepted EULAs are the ones that you already signed. If you want to know all the applications that are available, you can go to authorized apps. And in the authorized app list, it shows you all the different applications that are available. The one that you need to access Griffin data is that Griffin prod item that you then can sign up for. So I'm already signed up for it, but you can basically register for that one.
Can you do that by clicking on something there? It's kind of small, so.
Yeah.
A little question mark, is that what that is? Or
right. See what happens on these question marks. Oh, this is an application that I think there's this little sign thingy that you click on. It says edit authorization grant.
I see.
So the ones that I have authorized is Griffin, which gives me access to all of the Griffin data and all of the related files. This one gives you access to atmospheric correction files. So if you wanted to time series analysis, InSAR time series analysis, including model-based atmospheric correction, this gives you access to some of these data sets. And then the ASF items that are also license agreements that I signed. So those are the ones that I need fairly regularly and get me through most of the stuff that I want to do.
Okay, yeah. I think I have them activated now.
Okay. Was the Griffin activated already? No,
yes,
right?
no, I did not have that before. I just did it now that you showed me. Okay. Now I'm going to change my password because everybody saw it.
Yeah.
It's on the video, so yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Means you have to edit your NetRC file again.
Oh yeah, I will.
While not sharing the screen. Okay. So the people that are here, were you guys, using things like Slack before, or was that something that was new to you? And if so, either way, I personally think that it's really great for the class to have this Slack channel. There's a lot of, it seems to be very lively and useful. But do you find it useful so far? I kind of colored your opinion already, I guess.
But. I used it before for the GM-TSAR course, and it was really useful. Like, I had a lot of feedback from the instructor, and I think it's happening pretty much the same in this case. So I think I like it.
Yeah, I think it's a good tool in addition to these office hours we have. I mean, we have 150 students. There are a lot of questions that we personally won't be all able to address. And I think it's a bit of a community resource. Other people may have had the same issue and already fixed it and would be able to give you an answer quicker.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with some of the stuff, and Emily kindly jumped on and said, oh, I think you need to do this or that, and it's been really helpful. Otherwise, I think we spent all of office hours answering questions that ended up in the Slack.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, in theory, now that it's this is now owned by UNAFCO, right? This is a UNAFCO-owned Slack account. This can, you know, we've started last year when you know COVID hit here at UAF, for instance. We started a Slack channel for the college, and it's been, as a side effect, we've organized all the classes under the Slack channel, so all the classes have different Slack channels in the domain, and it's turned out to be a useful community building platform where, you know, people announce things if they have, like, you know, events on campus, or if there's presentations that people are interested in. So it's been a useful way of sharing information with everybody in the same field.
And to Amit's question, that yes, it will be up forever. I mean, last year we had this, and it maybe was still going fairly strong for a couple of months after the course ended. People had more questions once they got back to trying to run the codes on their own machines and so on. And I anticipate something similar this year too.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm expecting, because I'll definitely be working on my computer after the course is done. Yeah, great, thanks.
Other questions? Well, we have exponentially more people today than on Tuesday. So tomorrow, I guess we'll have exponentially more again.
So using a squint of 0.02 degrees is looking promising. It's made it to the last cell that takes the longest.
Awesome.
You'd basically write a SAR processor in a notebook, right? That's why it's so intensive.
Well, the last stage is the longest because it's actually a back projection processor, which is traditionally too slow to do on computers, or has been. So I limited the area to just around a single point target so that it can be done in a finite amount of time.
You do secondary range cell migration correction? No, right?
I don't think there's a secondary
I don't think
range migration correction, but the way I've implemented that in operational processors tends to be somewhat first order anyway, and it's a very quick operation. It's just like a phase correction.
Yeah, you'll also see some interesting artifacts when you look at the point spread. You know, I was excited about that. If you look at the point spread function, you see that it's really beautiful in range, and it's kind of a bit messy in azimuth, and it's explained in the notebook that the interpolation that's used is a bit brute force and not sort of the clean interpolation you would do in an operational processor. And you can see these artifacts, how they come out in the point spread function, which I think made me strangely happy. And so you see all of the messes you make, all of the inaccuracies you make in a SAR processor, they immediately show up, and it's very interesting. It's an indication how precise you have to be to process a SAR image correctly.
Yep, things have to be right down to a fraction of a wavelength, which is centimeters at a million meters away. So it needs to be done right. Lester, did you succeed?
Sorry, did you ask me?
Did you succeed?
Yeah, I'm still like correcting things.
Oh, okay.
I hope I do. I think I'm like 2 minutes away from it.
Okay. Well, we're waiting with biting our fingernails and stuff like that.
Yeah, me too.
So going back to the Sarah issue, the issue came up in what command?
It's asking for KML output. So you can have a search that will return multiple sort of scenes. And then when you ask it to output a KML file, it outputs a KML file without any content. And the GUI version of TSAR will output the frames on the screen. I'm going to show you real briefly. This is what you get if you run TSAR on the website. So it's calculating. It knows the frame boundaries. It can do all that stuff. This is a search for Envasat over Santa Rosa, California, and it's showing all the archives that hold the data, and there's a mixture of WinSAR, SuperSites, which is an ISCE archive, and also I think GeoEarthscope. I saw that as well, Earthscope as well. So all the places where we ordered that data back in the day, but yeah, it's not providing any way of retrieving the frames, and I wonder if that is now broken within TSAR or as the API version or what.
Yeah, so somebody at ASF, Greg Short, asked what the specific error is. So I just described that based on what you said, and see what we can do. I'm not sure who's maintaining the code, if that's ASF or if that was UNAVCO.
I think we clone it from UNAVCO, I think, in the notebook from the GitLab. So I wonder whose job that is now. They've been understaffed in the data department for quite a while. Maybe Becca can ask.
I was just about to say, from what I've heard from Chris, I don't think anyone's touched it since Scott's left. So.
And code gets brittle really fast. So. Any other questions?
Is there an alternative, I guess, proof of work that we should do for that? I guess it's the data search and access module. Should you try to figure out on our own how to convert the M1 file to a KML?
I think just showing that you have successfully executed the search, like just have the print rather than KML.
Okay. Yep.
You've already done that. So
yeah, maybe on a related question, or maybe it's not the best place, but that first example that I did where I was trying to just I printed out the search from a point using in the ALOS, and I tried to answer the query and it came back with 0 scenes. I'm not actually sure what happened on that. I don't know. Did you catch anything funny on the syntax that you remember? If I can dig into it on my own as well.
I think you probably don't need to put the frame twice, but I'm sure that doesn't do anything.
Okay. Yep.
But,
yeah, it's still returning 0 scenes.
It just could be bracketing the age at the dates. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a good question to. I'm not sure if you ever figured out how broad the user community was.
I think we do use it in some of the exercises in the course. I think we download Dalos data using it.
It's optional, I think. At least in the strip map notebook, you can download it one way or the other, and I think the TSAR one is commented out in I think.
And part of why we are using it may also be legacy. It's been, yeah. But it's unclear. We don't at ASF have good metrics on like what the level of community adoption was for TSAR. We know that.
It's helpful to show you where things are that are not at ASF.
Yep.
So if nobody has any questions, maybe Alex, you can flash up your SAR Theory notebook or SAR imaging notebook, and we can see what the squint.
Did you know that it literally just finished as you started saying that? It changed from the hourglass to the, yeah, that was perfect.
That kind of intuition, I guess.
Oh, you know what? It was this one that changed. Sorry, just kidding. But it's almost done, so.
It shifted.
Yeah, it did. So it was here, and now it's closer to 600. I have a printout from the raw. It's a little hard to see, but if you check out the x-axis, yeah, so this one was at 500, and now it's, you know, maybe at 580 or something. And I don't know what else.
So everything should look a little different if you go back up. Not that one.
Yeah. Yeah, let's check out this one.
Okay, they all will have shifted.
Oops.
The piece of the spectrum should be not symmetric anymore.
Yeah, so that one, yeah, I guess everything's shifting all on that. Sorry, which one did you want me to, the piece of the spectrum?
Yeah. These, that's interesting. So maybe these are all zero squint.
This is, let me, well, you know, let me go back to my entry. Sorry, I didn't mean to scroll. It looks kind of dizzy. Oh my goodness, where is it? This is a huge notebook.
Yeah.
Alrighty, yeah, so teeny tiny. So sorry, I'm still pretty fresh at this. So I did it just under this. Is that right for beam width?
I can't read it because it's small and it's highlighted.
Okay. Lambda over antenna length.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I did 0.02.
Okay.
Sorry, can you, did you have a specific spot you wanted me to look at in here?
But you were converting from degrees to radians in that equation where it's multiplying pi and dividing by 180. So I think you wanted to have degrees there. So you gave it 0.02 degrees, not.
Oh, this is already. Oh.
Yeah, that's radians, but that's okay.
Oh,
I mean, it just means that you have a very small angle that you put in there, which is also likely to increase your chances of success. So that's good. And you did see a shift. But what I was hoping to see somewhere in here is evidence that the squint moves the location where you're looking in the spectrum. But so some of the ones that have not that.
Yeah, it might be too small to see, huh?
Probably too small to see. Yeah,
I don't know if you'd expect it to show on here.
No, it wouldn't show on that because the spectrum is still centered around the zero Doppler. It's just the beam illuminates. So that's range, right? So it wouldn't show there.
Okay. Well, no.
Okay, it should show here, but it's such a small angle. I'm not sure you can see it.
I'm gonna do a little side by side here with an old printout of the first notebook. I think it's this guy, right?
Yeah.
Well, so something changed because the scale bar changed, and it's automatically scaling it. So
that's interesting. Yeah, it does look like it might be shifted a little bit to the right on the right side. Those zero lines seem to be a little bit closer to the grid lines on the right side. So yeah, it may be working, believe it or not. Fantastic.
Cool. Nice. All right, did you want to look at anything else, or should I stop?
That's okay. I can even run it myself.
Oh yeah. Thanks.
See if I can get it to bright.
If you're still wondering if I succeeded, I'm really happy to tell you that it's working perfectly. Thank you for the help.
But now, because we changed both, we don't know what fixed it.
Exactly. It's the...
Maybe it's the same password.
I don't know if it's at all, but my password did have special characters, and that was not an issue.
Well, usually it requires some special character, but not all special characters work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dot I would have thought would be okay. So it.
But now that we've seen it anyway, it was worthwhile changing it either way.
Yeah, that's right. Well, but he said he might not have changed it, so.
Just kidding. No,
we can check that out.
There's a question about ascending versus descending in Texas in the chat. Some areas do have both passes, some do not. I was wondering why this is the case.
It's because of the arbitrariness of the mission planners.
Yeah, it's not in the tectonic mask, right? So it won't be prioritized for ascending and descending coverage.
So I think that the thing is that the mission over places outside of the US, and outside of the hazard zones, has a requirement to provide one image every 12 days. It doesn't have a requirement to do more. And so they pick an acquisition plan that meets all the requirements without overtaxing the system, I guess. And unfortunately, in some places, they've chosen to not just say only have ascending passes and not descending passes, but in places they also flip at times, where they acquire 3 months only ascending and then 3 months only descending. So if you wanted to do InSAR time series analysis, you get this very strange artificial breaks. That's true even in places where it matters. There's some volcanoes in the Aleutians, in the Alaska Aleutian Arc, for instance, where that's the case, where you have very odd breaks of like 2 to 3 months in specific orbit directions because they decided to switch to the other one for a period of time. This issue won't happen, I think, ever, or as much at least in Europe, where the requirement is to acquire at every pass. So there you get all data sets that you may want, and probably more than you actually really want. So if you ever looked at, there was an earthquake in Greece last year, I think, and you just searched for available data, there's enormous amounts of data available for this site, with all the acquisitions that are being made over Europe.
Okay, so just to follow up on that, so in ISAR, are we expecting both in the for the US? Like, would we get both the passes once ISAR is up for the US at least? Like,
you're muted, Paul.
Yes, thank you. We'll get both ascending and descending once we launch.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
It was announced at the UNAVCO Sage Gauge workshop that it was going to be spring of 2023. Is that still correct?
Yes, probably. Who knows? We are having some integration problems right now with the S-band instrument. The Indian contribution is experiencing some interference from when both radars are transmitting at the same time. We're fixing it. We know how to fix it, but it just takes time. And the question is how much can we recover our schedule from it? So it's a little bit in flux, but we're still shooting for spring.
They both use the dish?
Yeah, both the sets of electronics are on the main bus, and they both point up towards the dish and share it. Dish is not the issue. It's electromagnetic waves bouncing around inside the structure that causing issues.
Ooh, that gives a really nice segue back to the squint question.
That's true.
ISAR's L-band and S-band radar, they actually both not zero squinted. They are both squinted off
by one beam width.
By one beam width. just by the way the transmit modules and receive modules are placed on the spacecraft.
Okay, bye, Lester. I think our time is up. We have another quiet hour tomorrow, or office hour tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So we can continue on if you want to hear more about ISAR or anything else. And hopefully some other students will come with questions too. I will try to work on the SAR theory evidence a little bit between now and then.
Excuse me, Paul, if you don't mind, I have a small question for you.
Go for it.
I haven't seen any notebook in the raster data folder. So what do you think? Do you guys intend to put something in it, or shall I mark a dash or something X in the Excel sheet?
The raster data folder?
Yes. Raster data tiling and map projections.
Do we not have any notebooks for that?
There is none right now.
Well, what do the videos show?
And same with the OSL folder as well.
Let me check if we had one last year. Let me look at the...
Yeah, so for the OSL folder, that was sort of a placeholder folder. The README should simply say, watch the videos that were created on demonstrating how OSL is used. So that one, we can fix that README. Yeah, we created a folder for each of the numbered elements in the syllabus, and some of them don't have notebooks associated with them. I thought we had notebooks for the raster data, but maybe they were just lectures.
I'm trying to verify last year. Data access.
Yes, there is one README file in the raster folder only.
Data access, math basics, raster data manipulation, is that the one? Geosync.
The raster data manipulation is in the GDAL folder rather than the level 5. Yeah.
Raster data tiling map projections.
So as data manipulation, that might be just the GDAL folder. Okay.
Yeah, so I have one that's called raster projection from last year, raster data and map projection.
So maybe that's a bug in our syllabus. Maybe that module is just the GDAL module.
Yeah, let me see if in the GDAL module. Yeah, there's a raster data manipulation in the raster projection in the GDAL folder.
Okay.
So data tiling and map projection may just be a superfluous folder.
So is Becca still there? You watch these videos. Do you remember what's in them?
I think last year you paired the, where is it? The data manipulation and projection together for like 2 and 3 in the 0.4. Last year would have been in like 0.5. And right now, this year, they're just all under GDAL in 0.4.
Okay, that explains it. So we should just, I will modify the syllabus to change, to remove that module and put the content up under the GDAL.
I'll also change the homework sheet and get rid of raster assignment then. That way it's not confusing, because I think I have a GDAL assignment up too. Yeah.
Good. All right, good. Thanks, Faizan. for pointing that out. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I too got understand that maybe a homework sheet would be modified and it will be all good because
Yes.
it's one there in the GDAL file.
Sounds good. That's what Becca will make a change to the homework sheet.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. We'll talk to you all tomorrow, or some of you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Yeah.